Hey, my wonderful, wonderful people, a pleasant afternoon to you. I just want to wish everybody a fantastic Christmas and certainly a blessed and a fantastic and a great 2025. I hope that it will be phenomenal. It will be amazing. It will be great. That your heart's desires, once they're good and godly, predominantly godly, of course, your godliness leads to the goodness. That they come to fruition, that they come true. All right, beautiful people. There are some people, when I scroll TikTok, when I talk to people in person, that will say the current Prime Minister, that is Prime Minister Andrew Holness, is the best Prime Minister ever. He's a great leader. He's a great Prime Minister. And then you have others who are like literally have taken a 180. I can't say 360 because 360 carries you back to the same starting point. They've taken a 180. They're on the complete opposite end of the spectrum where they have exclaimed and reiterated and proclaimed that he's the worst Prime Minister ever, bad leader, poor leader. And you hear the vitriol, you see it on the different social media platforms, you hear it in person, the disrespect, which I do not support. I've often said you have the right to hit out against, but in a respectful manner, injustices, unfairness, things that are just not good, things that are evil and wicked, unethical, illegal, immoral, wherever they fall on the spectrum of not good, you have that right, but it must always done with regard, lest you fall in the very same area that you're chiding and reprimanding the person. Yes, the Bible speaks about that if you're going to reprimand anyone, you're going to chide anyone, do it in love, do it with respect, do it with honor, even if you're going to be firm, and a sort of balanced anger. Ensure that it is done in love, because you can be tempted the same way and you can fall into the same temptation and trap. So be very careful. But Prime Minister Andrew Holness, I don't even know what to say. One of the things that I realize in this 21st century, a sad reality, is that there are more people broke, poor, disenfranchised, depressed, sad, and suicidal, unfortunately, because, and I'm not saying this is the only reason, but it is a big part of the pie, they have no money. Even when they work, they're like a hamster in a hamster's wheel, just running around. The salary is low. I remember some time ago, somebody interviewed me and I was asking, the housing prices are high. And I said, yes, and I'm talking about somewhere that I specifically would want to live. And another lady who is in the realtor business said, it's not that the houses are high, the prices are high. It's that the salaries are low. The salaries are low. So they're not in tandem and in keeping with the ability for someone to, be able to purchase it. There are too many people who are underemployed. So we see a plethora of BPOs coming on. BPOs, they are low too, in a sense, a beginning stage of mid-tier jobs. Unless you're the owner of the BPO. Outside of that, if you work there, it doesn't really take rocket science to work in that job. You just train anybody, even a high schooler. Once they can read and write and there is some semblance of emotional intelligence, obviously intelligence, quotient knowledge, then they're able to do their job and do it effectively and efficiently. Their number of, when we look at the condition of the roads, they're horrible, and the shoddy material that is used leaves much to be desired. The pro-patch material, it's almost like somebody just throwing sand and a couple rock stones. That's what I mean. It's not that, but the black tar looking thing with the rocky thing, it's ridiculous. And we see the housing price, houses going up, and the cheapest you probably get one with, the way how it is so small, some of them, you put your hand in one place, it is in the toilet bowl, you land it another place, it's in your bedroom or the kitchen, or the back sink. So I'm saying, when you put your two hands, they're not so far apart, and yet the price is astronomical. As well as the lady says, not that the prices are astronomical, the salaries cannot reach it. And I would ask you this, what if, let me ask you this hypothetically, Prime Minister, let us say I asked you, let us switch salaries. You take mine for about 2 to 3 years, give it the maximum 3 years, and you take mine for 3 years. Would you be able to survive on mine? Because your salary and my salary, let me see if I can give you an analogy. It is like a Usain Bolt and me in a 100-meter race or a 200-meter race. So I am running against Usain Bolt in his heyday, when he's at his best, fittest, and him now look over upon the clock, him just look straight ahead and run. That is, you know, and I know you didn't take the increase. I know you still stayed at your 9 million. You still haven't reached a double figure. And yet your salary in comparison to mine is like Usain Bolt and me running together. And Usain Bolt and me. So we understand what I'm talking about. And, you know, it breaks my heart when I think of people like myself who were educated, you know. Some of us to the master's level, some to the PhD level. And yet our salaries are not in keeping with the job description. Our salaries are not in keeping, not so much with the job description, my apology. Our salaries are not in keeping with our level of educational attainment, our knowledge, our skills, our competencies, you know, even attitude. Good, your attitude can be good. You know, they've often come with this term about your altitude. Your attitude determines your altitude. We normally use it to say that if you do good, you will reach high, you will reach the stars. And there's truth to that, obviously. But I've seen where people with bad attitude who do wrongs, they soar for the moment. I mean, you know, if we're using Jeremiah's, all right, if we're to look at it, or we can use Psalm 73. David said, boy God, it is like those who are doing good, the consequences seem to be bad, and those who are doing bad, is like their consequences seem to be good. It's like the more bad they do, it's like the more good seem to happen to them. They're soaring and doing well, you know, and so on. So I could use that, but I'm gonna have to put in the clause, because he did say, until I came into the temple and I realized they withered away like nothing. But on the get-go, it's like their bad attitude is determined their high altitude. So the more evil they did, the more they got promoted, the more they got. I'm wondering if promotion is still a part of companies. And the other day, I noticed 99 sergeants, or whatever you want to call them, sergeants, had gotten promoted to inspectors. Good. And I really hope that these were the right fit, and, you know, they really qualified for it. Let us put it that way, because we want to see our country improve. 99. We would love to see that across the public sector, you know, because I'm thinking, if you and I were to switch salaries, and I'm thinking I would have fallen under the 20%. And, you know, if you had taken yours, you know, you would have gotten 100, 200, or 300%, wherever it falls. But I'm saying in your present state, and even with this somewhat of an increase, the 20%, your salary and my salary are like a Usain Bolt and me in a race. When Usain is at his best, at his optimal level. And I just use me as a proxy to say and represent many across the board. Many people across the board. Many people across the board. There was a man from your camp who said years ago, long before we even dreamt of COVID, that anyone earning $500,000 monthly, he used the yearly figure at the time. When he worked it out, it would have been $500,000 monthly. They're barely scraping. So, you know, most people are decomposed. They're beyond dead. They're deceased. You wonder if they can ever be resurrected. Would you be able to take my salary for the next 3 years and I take yours for the next 3 years, sir? Could you do that? Would you be able to do that switch and live comfortably and be okay financially? Would you be okay with that, sir? That's just a question. I'm curious about that. Because, you know, I'm thinking about even the Civil Service Association, how they've been crying out for some back monies. And I suppose some people thought they would have gotten it this Christmas, and to no avail. You know, they thought they would have gotten it during the course of 2024, and nothing at all for some. And other monies, and other public sector workers and private sector workers. There are people who work with private sector, and you wonder to yourself if they're truly working. And we see the high criminal activities as it relates to scamming, chopping, and thievery. You know, so I don't know, sir. You think about your leadership. Guys, you know what to do, read TikTok and YouTube. More one of them lying there from a Christmas now, you know, man.